So first of all, you might have seen that the workshop this week was published a little bit late because one of our team members is a bit busy. And Sarah, with her might, managed to create a workshop in a very short amount of time. So I think she deserves an applause. So this week, I think the easy thing that we used a pretty good software that is not required to run on Kali. It can run on any OS, pretty much, Wireshark. It's free to use and to run. So if you haven't installed Wireshark, please go to wireshark.org. They have an installer for pretty much every possible target.
Who here's done Fit 1047? This is going to be really boring for most of you then. Good thing I have some extra hard challenges. Also, if you have done Fit 1047, excuse the very rushed and terrible explanation of networking. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at how networks work, mostly focusing on the transport layer. Good revision for anyone who's done it. Why network forensics is important and why we do it. Introduction to Wireshark. If you have used it before, you can fall asleep and then move on to the hard challenges. And then tonight we'll be using PicoCTF challenges. And there's also one additional challenge from Hack the Box Cyberpocalypse event, which happened earlier this year. Unfortunately, you cannot access the box anymore. However, one of my friends has saved the capture file and sent it to me. So I'll share that on the Discord. So if you haven't joined, go to monsec.io, click on the Discord icon and join our server, because that's how I'll be distributing the file. So make sure you have Wireshark installed if you don't already. If you want to use the command line version /tshark, go ahead, but we'll be using the graphical interface. The most fundamental thing about networking is that networks have layers, like an onion. So there are different models that are in use. We have the Open Systems Interconnection and the Transmission Control Protocol /Internet Protocol model. So for people, since I know that a lot of you have done 1047, don't disappoint me. Who wants to tell me the 7 layers in OSI? I don't have prizes, but you can get brownie points. 1 layer. If we get 7 people to do 1 layer each, because I'll pick on the people who put their hands up, because I saw you guys. You're all sitting over there. Anyone want to volunteer what some of the layers in the OSI model are? Transport is one of them. 1 out of 7. There we go. Another one. Yes. Physical. Application. Network. Presentation. Data link is one as well. What's the last one? I've lost track of what the ones we haven't said. Anyway. Application, presentation, session, I think is one we missed. Transport, network, data link, and physical. However, this is one model that has 7 layers. The alternative model is TCP/IP. Does anyone want to know what the 4 layers of TCP/IP are? It's pretty similar. Transport? Physical. Not physical. I believe it's part of another layer. Application is, yep. Framework data link, I think, is put with physical. Let's have a look. Application, transport, internet, and network interface. What have we learned? You guys all passed 1047. Yes. For the purposes of Wireshark, the one we're most going to be interested is, of course, transport, because we're going to be looking at data streams. So packets of data being sent between a client and a server most of the time. So this can be done with TCP and UDP, and I'll go into that on the next slide. Here's a nice picture, though, in case people haven't seen the OSI and TCP model before. Basically, here are all the protocols that each layer has. If you want to check your understanding, go ahead. Cool. Okay. So as I said, we are mostly interested in the transport layer, and the 2 different protocols, well, there are others, but these are the main ones, is the Transmission Control Protocol, or TCP, and the User Datagram Protocol, which is UDP. So TCP is accurate, but slightly slower because it uses a 3-way handshake to send data, which is called synchronize, acknowledge, and then acknowledge. So basically you have a client and a server. The server is going to send a message out to the client will send a synchronized acknowledge message back and then get an acknowledge. Therefore, you know that every time you send a piece of data, you get this handshake. If at any point the handshake is broken, the client or the server more likely goes, aha, we're having missing, corrupted, out of order data. We got to send this again, send it through. That's how we have really accurate data stream, accurate transmissions of data using TCP, and it usually treats it as one continuous stream of bytes. And the segments that basically, yeah, they're treated as a continuous byte rather than individual discrete bits of data. This is to be contrasted with UDP, which is the opposite because while it's very fast, it can be quite inaccurate. So it's generally used in circumstances where accuracy isn't super important. So the classic example is, for example, live streaming and video services, because if you miss a few frames here and there, it's not too bad, but people will complain if you start lagging behind on your favorite episode of a TV show. Anyway, yeah, yes, fast, but less accurate because it just throws a whole bunch of data at the other end. And if it doesn't pick it up, well, that's the receiver's fault, not the sender's fault. So it doesn't bother resending or trying to establish that connection. The packets or the segments of data in UDP are called datagrams, which is different from TCP. More of a fun fact than actually anything useful. In Wireshark challenges, generally speaking, most things are transmitted through TCP. Very, very few will use UDP. So whenever you, for those of you who have done Wireshark before, you'll probably be aware that you analyze and follow TCP streams or TLS streams more commonly than UDP streams. Other bits that you need to know for the challenges tonight. Thank you, Leo. That's important too. The OSI model does change. Sometimes when you do TCP IP, they say it also has 5 layers because it splits data link and physical. But I have gone with the bog standard, you'll get points on your interview kind of response. Anyway, this is the 3-way handshake used by TCP, as I talked about before. So the synchronize, acknowledge from the client. But other things you have to know from the challenges. So of people who have used Wireshark before, have you guys done Wireshark with TLS encryption before? No? Yes, some of you? Okay. So I won't go into the details of TLS, which stands for Transport Layer Security. It's basically a way to establish secure connection between a client and a server. As we talked about in last week's workshop with cryptography, this is public key cryptography. In theory, if the data stream is encrypted, you won't be able to read the traffic in intercepted packets. However, this, sometimes there are special sophisticated exploits. In one of the two of the challenges tonight are TLS encrypted traffic, and they give you a key, and then I'll show you guys how to use that key to decrypt that traffic so you can find the flag. Other little things that for people who haven't done Wireshark for, because often when people talk about Wireshark, they talk about analyzing suspicious traffic. So you might be wondering, okay, what is suspicious traffic? Because people aren't just going to send entire bunches of malicious code over the internet, are they? So one thing that's really common is HTTP post methods, because as people, I think we did there when we did cryptography last lesson, when we were looking at logins, post forms are basically a great way to get malicious code into a system. So looking out for any packets with those can often reveal suspicious or unusual files. For example, if you're on a web hosting service and it says upload your JPEGs here, and you see one packet that's uploaded a PHP file instead of a JPEG file, you might go, that's suspicious traffic. Code snippets, less common, but sometimes you will see bits of Java or bits of PHP in traffic, and then you go, okay, something's going on here. You want to follow that stream. IP addresses, sometimes relevant in challenges, sometimes not. It depends what you're looking for, but in the ones we're doing tonight, IP addresses aren't too relevant, and any other packets with unusual contents. So an unusually large hex dump, for example, could imply malicious traffic. So network forensics. For those of you who haven't done it before, basically, the idea is you want to look at, as I said before, suspicious traffic. It's probably how Elliot in Mr. Robot, who haven't watched it, go watch it, please. It's great. In the first episode, caught that guy in the cafe because he was analyzing suspicious traffic. The first thing he noticed was how fast the network was for that cafe, and that led him to do more investigation, which of course revealed that the guy was a creep. And how did he do that? Network forensics. So there's roughly two categories. There's the looking at malicious and unusual traffic. This can either be live or captured packets. The ones we're going to be working with today are pre-captured packages. Please do not live scan Monash's internet. I can confirm it is in fact illegal. Do not do it. No, don't do it. Just stick to the pre-captured packages. If you at home have a private internet network that either you manage or your parent manages or your roommate manages or whatever, you can sniff that network if you ask them first and make sure they're not sending any sensitive data over the internet. Anyway, legal disclaimer aside, what other tools are used for network forensics? Oh, by the way, the other thing is tracking and tracing traffic. So seeing where something is coming from and who it's going to. That's more used in real world applications than in CTFs because they don't usually want you DDoSing their servers. Anyway, back to tools. So there are three types of tools, broadly speaking. There's packet analysis, so Wireshark, Brim, Network Miner, T-Shark, all examples of that. So it's used to look at different streams of traffic, see what is being sent, who it's being sent to, what it contains, all those kinds of things. You also have network scanning tools like Nmap. I don't know how familiar you guys are with that. It's basically you look at a network and you see what's connected to it, what else is running on it. And then you have network metadata, which are basically network security monitors like Zeek and NetFlow, which live track what's been sent through, if there's high volumes of traffic at specific points, what servers are being called the most. But anyway, important in cybersecurity, particularly useful for detecting attacks. So if you see a sudden surge in network activity, that could be indicative of a cyber attack. Now it's your turn. So I know that there are quite a few people who have worked with Wireshark before and will probably find the beginner challenges extremely easy. So the main challenges from PicoCTF is Wireshark. I'm not going to sing the song, WebNet 0 and WebNet 1. And then we're also going to be doing roten from HackTheBox's CTF. Again, I'll either put that on the CTFD or our Discord to be confirmed. For the people who have done this stuff before or just want a challenge, Torrent Analyze on PicoCTF looks at BitTorrent traffic as opposed to regular TCP UDP traffic. And on TryHackMe, there is Warzone, which also uses Brim Network and Network Miner, but they work fairly similarly to Wireshark, and it's all on the attack boxes that they already provide. This is actually quite a good one. Carnage, another good Wireshark challenge. However, there are several red herrings in this one. It can take a while. So if you want to try that one and are using the free attack box, not your own, you'll have to work fast because you only have an hour. And the last one is Misguided Ghosts for the truly masochistic. I could not finish this. It goes on forever. You'll also need to know how to use Nmap, reverse shell, and have decent cryptography and cracking knowledge. So if you want to have a go at that one, go ahead. It is also rated hard on HackTheBox, so have fun with that one. Anyway, with that aside, I will go to PicoCTF. So again, as a reminder, if you have not already downloaded Wireshark, please do that. It is available on all OSs, and you can just use the graphical user interface. You don't have to use the command line one, unless, of course, you prefer to do that. So the first one on the list is Wireshark, do, whatever. And it's a forensics challenge. So we're just going to start by downloading their capture file, and we can go into here and just open that. Okay, so for those of you who haven't used Wireshark before, I'll just give you a quick overview before giving you guys, let's say, just 10 minutes to try and work on this first one. Again, if you have done this before and this is very easy for you, I do recommend the bonus challenges. I can put them back up if you want. So for those of you who haven't used Wireshark before, you have a very ugly GUI, to be fair. This is the destination and source IP, and this is the important part, the protocol that you're using. And down here, you can see what's been sent in the headers and also the actual file itself. So the main thing you're going to want to use is analyze. So you need to do analyze and follow. Now, if there were different types of traffic, of course, you'd have more options, but this particular challenge only has TCP. So you'll want to look at the TCP and go through the packet contents and see if there's anything unusual or suspicious in this. So this is PicoCTF. So for those of you who do not know, wow, it's not even appearing. Okay, share screen is not really good. New share my whole screen. That's better. This is what I was talking about. I'll do that again. Analyze, follow, TCP stream. And now you can follow the TCP data streams, and you can see down in the bottom right corner, you can change which stream you're looking at. So there'll be 3 or 4 streams, I think, for this particular challenge, and you can just go through here and look for the flag. Because this is PicoCTF, the format of the flag is PICO in lowercase and then capital CTF with curly braces around the flag. Again, if you haven't made a PicoCTF account, go to PicoGym, log in, make an account, it's free. And now I'll give you 10 minutes to download and install Wireshark, get a PicoCTF account, and try and find the flag. And then I'll go through the answers. For the recording, we are going through the solution to Wireshark. So we're flicking through our streams. We've just gone analyze, follow TCP. A lot of this, rubbish. So we're going to keep going. No, that's not what we want. That's still not what we want. Stream 4, no. Stream 5, aha, we got some interesting text here. This looks a little bit like Caesar cipher. So we're going to go over to Caesar cipher cracker, your tool of choice, whatever you want. I use decode. So we're going to paste this in, decrypt and brute force it. And here's our flag. Peekaboo, I see you, dead beef. So now we can copy this in. There's all this text, go back to here, and I copied the entire bit of text. Go away, zoom bar. Anyway, this is our flag. I'm just terrible at copying, apparently. Anyway, copy it in, submit it, and it'll say, hooray, this flag is correct. The next challenge is a little bit more tricky. It's called WebNet 0. WebNet 0 and WebNet 1 are very similar. So I'm going to go through the solutions for them together because they actually use the same key. So on this one, we've been given another packet capture and a key. So we're going to download both of these. I'm going to delete this one until I accidentally click on it. Cancel. Close this first. Get rid of this. We don't want that one. Name of this file is capture. So we're going to open up capture. And we can see that we have a lot of TLS traffic. And we can't see what it says. We just know that some form of encrypted data is being sent over this network. And it's complete garbage to us. So on this particular one, you'll be wanting to see how we can decrypt this traffic, given the fact they have given us a key already called Pico key. I will go through the solutions in approximately 15 minutes because WebNet 0 and WebNet 1 are very similar and they in fact use the same key. Yep, so for the recording, we are doing the solve for WebNet 0. We've gone to edit preferences and the protocol dropdown. We're now looking for TLS. Now that we've found TLS, we want to change the keys list. So we have to add a new key. We're going to browse to our key location. So mine is in my documents. It's called PicoKey. Open. That's added. Okay. Okay. And now we have a bunch of decrypted streams that are now available to us, these HTTP streams, which are no longer there. So now we can quite simply go to analyze, follow, I think it's under TCP. Hold on. Analyze, follow HTTP, because that's the one that appeared. And we find our flag, PicoCTF, and Nongshim shrimp crackers, which is one of my favorite CTF flags of all time. So we can now copy and paste that straight into PicoCTF because it's in plain text. And ta-da! We've solved the challenge. Now, the reason I say do WebNet 0 and WebNet 1 back to back is because WebNet 1 actually uses the exact same key. So we can just get rid of our old capture. We don't need that anymore. Sorry. Close that. We get rid of our old capture. We can download the new capture from WebNet 1. And if we look through this, we can go over here, go to the new capture. And we can see that once again, we have encrypted HTTP traffic, but because we have our key, it's already readable for us. We can see it straight away. Again, you must be getting used to this by now. Analyze, follow HTTP stream. And this time they've said, this is not your flag anymore. So we have to look a little bit more carefully. So we keep looking, we keep looking.
2 hours later.
Nope, still no flag. Ah, here it is. And this is my second favorite flag in all of PicoCTF history. As we can see, it is still in the same stream. It is just slightly further down. So this is not your flag anymore. We can also see from our filter that it's in the TCP stream 0, but in the HTTP traffic. So we can now copy this across, honey roasted peanuts, copy and paste. And we can submit that flag. And there we go. You are 3 out of 4 steps of your way to becoming a true Wireshark expert. For our final challenge, as I mentioned before, it is taken from this year's Hack the Box Cyberpocalypse. And because you can no longer access boxes outside of event times, one of my friends has very generously shared the file which she saved to her computer so we can do it now. So if you guys want to go to ctf.monsec.io, you can go to the challenges page. And at the bottom, you'll see a new task that says Semester 2, Week 3, Intro to Wireshark, and the challenge is from HDB Cyber Apocalypse 2023. I believe the original challenge was called Roten. However, for the purposes of this, we've just renamed it. I have copied the original description in as well, and there is the challenge PCAP file. So, once we have downloaded the file, as usual, we're going to open it right up. I already deleted the key. That's entirely my fault. And so if we read the description of this, the description is actually quite important because this one says they suspect that some kind of shell has been uploaded, but they are unable to find it. So if a shell has been uploaded, what this implies is that we're looking for an HTTP post somewhere because that's the best way you would get data into a system. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the filter display to filter for HTTP request.method equals post, because that's the most common way. Now, if you don't know that it's done by a post, you would have to do a little bit more searching, but this just expedites it greatly. And this is why I mentioned that knowing what is usually suspicious traffic is immensely helpful. So now we have a fair amount of traffic and we can start looking at the payloads. So here are our headers. We don't really care about that. That's just to do with the network. But here's what we're looking for. We want to look at the multi-part media encapsulation, also known as MIME, because now we can see what's been uploaded. So we can see here that to the form, that there's a form here. We've uploaded a file and the file name is called osmap.pdf. PDF files, not hugely suspicious. We'll pass over it. What about the next one? This one is just a search. So they're submitting for the word barracks. This is meant, okay, for context, when they had this, it was like, we're being invaded by aliens. We must stop the aliens from invading us or something, which is why it's like they're searching for maps. But anyway, next one, just more searches, nothing unusual about any of these. But now we have another multimedia transfer protocol. Let's have a look what's in this one. There's another uploaded file. The file name is Asia map. Again, not hugely suspicious. Yes, you can have attack payloads hidden in PDFs. I believe the former Vice President Elias actually wrote an article about this. I think they were called Chimera files, so ones that are PDFs that are actually hidden executables. But for this purpose, we don't care about it too much. So let's have a look. Another search, boring. Aha, an uploaded file with a file name galacticmap.php. So PHP is very suspicious to us because that's code. Why are you uploading code to a website? So what we're going to want to do is open up this and we can see here that we have a great big chunk of PHP code. I think I can open this in a slightly nicer format. So if we go follow the stream of TCP, we get this big chunk of PHP code. Who's done PHP before? Put your hands up. Now's your time to shine. We've only got one PHP expert in the room. Excellent. Don't worry. So the reason this code is PHP is it's got the PHP headers. So we can see from here to here, all the way down the bottom, is PHP. That's what the question marks are for. Now, if you might be wondering, why is it a great jumbled mess with strange symbols and words? It's obfuscated code. Do you guys know what code obfuscation is? Yes? Some nods. So basically, once you have, to make it harder to reverse engineer your code or to find out how a hack operates, you can obfuscate it by basically replacing it with nonsense. because technically you don't have to call your variables, really nice handy things. You can call it a random string of characters, and that's one way to obfuscate. Another way you can do it is to redefine all the function names as completely random strings. So for those of you sitting there going, oh my gosh, how do I obfuscate this? Don't worry, there's an easy way of doing it. The first way of solving this is to copy this and deobfuscate the code yourself. That will give you the flag. The second way is to change one line of code in this whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy everything from the PHP bracket. That's a bit too far. Up to this line, copy, copy. So now PHP compiler, whoops, PHP compiler. You can use whatever you want. If you have a PHP compiler on your computer, go ahead. So now we're going to replace this code with this, and dark mode is superior. So now we can run our code and we get a bunch of errors. Passing null to parameter of file name of eval on line D, undefined variable. So again, like I said, if you haven't done PHP before, don't worry about it, because you could spend all day on obfuscating this, or you could very simply change eval to echo. And why does this work? It's just because it changes. So eval is trying to perform an operation, but it's saying, hey, we don't have anything to perform the operation on. It's not valid. But when we change it to echo, it's simply going to, it's basically a print statement.
How do you know it's going to be echoing?
PHP is the short answer. If you know some PHP, it makes a little bit more sense. Personally, my PHP is garbage. I spent far too long staring at this. Someone else would say, by the way, just change this one line. Thanks, you, sitting over there. Again, former Vice President Elias unobfuscated this entire chunk by himself. And then I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell him about the one-line solution. But anyway, so for those of you who don't know what PHP does, basically they've written a function that says, print out what the function is. It's a function that prints itself, essentially. It's called implode, I believe. Yes. And then it gives you all of this. And then the important part is if you go down all the way at the bottom, here's the print perms file. So if you actually looked at the code, it's fairly useless, but they needed to have something. And then I'm so blind. Somewhere down here, the flag format for this is HTTP. So now they have the compiled code. We can just Control F for the flag and receive the flag. HTTP. Wow, rot a day. But yeah, feel free to go ahead and look at the compiled code yourself. Learn some PHP, give yourself some mental headaches. But that is all we have for Wireshark today. Like I said, feel free to go through this. Or if you are wanting to challenge yourselves a bit more and go a bit further, I recommend looking at Warzone 1, though that does use other tools which we won't cover today. Though I think you can do everything with just Wireshark, and Carnage. But again, that one can take a little while because there are several rabbit holes. And then I don't recommend this one if you're new to this, but if you want to give yourself a good challenge and have a bit of fun revealing this story between like two guys on the internet, you can have a look at that one. Besides that, thank you for coming today. If you have any questions, please let me know.